Well, Kyle.
Yes, Garrett.
We didn't do videos about patch content in Endwalker.
We didn't know where it was going.
We knew we were going to the media tour, and we were like, we need to hurry up.
That too. That did happen.
Yeah. So if anyone's mad that we didn't do videos about patch content, it's because so many of you were spoiler police that you scared us into thinking any of it was relevant to Dawn Trail, which is hilarious now.
They didn't know. Nobody knew. I mean, you know.
Oh, that's actually a good point.
Yeah.
They didn't know.
No, they didn't know.
Oh.
Goth Cowboy could have been all up in that Dawn Trail.
Well, she eventually becomes mid-paladin.
But she could still be part of the pantheon of swimsuits we have in our eventual beach episode.
That's never happening.
One can hope.
I've given up hope. I've given up hope. We're not getting, there's no bikini scenes in Dawn Trail.
There wasn't Stormblood in the benchmark, had a big swim scene in it for Stormblood.
It did?
Yeah.
Oh.
Maybe there are people entering Stormblood excited about the benchmark who thought, man, I can't wait for that Makote bikini episode to happen. Never did. Instead, we got sad Black Rose Cat episodes and Lakshmi. I mean, speaking of which, we do have that.
Baby, let your booty show.
Yeah.
Oh, gotta get around the stuff everywhere. Oh, it's video day, Kyle. It's video day.
Do you want more videos? Do you think they'd like more videos?
I think you like more videos.
If you want more grinding gear, there's so much more grinding gear. Check out our live stream playlist on this channel. It has every live stream we've ever done. If you want it curated, edited, like actually edited, check out the Grinding Gear Clips and Highlights channel, which is youtube.com/grindinggearclips. Go subscribe and you'll basically keep up with everything we're doing, but in more surmountable chunks. And then if you want even more grinding gear, we have bonus content, bonus videos,
bonus podcasts.
Everyone gets access to all sorts of stuff, whether you support us here on YouTube membership or on our Patreon over at supportourbromance.com.
Supportourbromance.com.
We recommend doing the YouTube membership if you like all of the stream perks. We recommend supportourbromance.com if you're just a giant fan and you want us to get the most of the dollars you throw our way, because we keep a little bit more over on our Patreon. So either way, become a YouTube member or a patron over at supportourbromance.com. We really appreciate the support, everybody. Let's get back to a hairy situation.
I mean, she's got augments, decals. What do you call the things that are in between stained glass? Those have to have a formal name.
Well, I would call what's going on with her, I would call it filigree.
Filigree.
Which is, it's in a lot of ornamentation. I tend to associate it with French decor.
Okay.
Because a fleur-de-lis is basically filigree.
Oh, yeah, sure, yeah. The metal which holds the glass panes.
They were solid normals. Like, these are good fights. They really brought it at the end of Endwalker. And ending Walker, Newfound
Adventure. This was actually part of the Newfound Adventure, wasn't it?
No, this is 6.2, not 6.1.
Oh, this was 6.2, right. Because there's 5 of them, and there was 4 trials, then they took this trial.
Yeah, I enjoyed 6.1, but yeah, I was reviewing some of 6.2 today before this to prepare. I was like, man, 6.2 really pops off compared to 6.1. We meet Zero and transform her from the shade, and meet Barbariccia and kill Barbariccia all in 6.2. 6.2 is kind of a banger patch.
Since we never made any videos about it, I kind of like the trial series being part of the MSQ. It made it meaty.
I liked it too. Yeah, I was a big fan.
Granted, if I wasn't into the theme of the 13th, and that was also the trial series, I get why.
I still wasn't sold at this point, but I still had a good point, or I still had a good time, but I was still kind of wishing that the 13th was a little more of an unknowable horror, instead of just like, even when we go to like the castle, like there's monsters, but they're just kind of hanging around and they just want to talk with us. And I'm just like, this again, not the vibe I wanted, but I ended up having a good time with it. So,
but the reflections.
Someone was into it, enjoyed it. Someone who wasn't into it, enjoyed it. And eventually I got into it.
Just open up the zone, like make that like interactable. I want to hang out there with people since it's a solo instance kind of thing.
Yeah.
I want to go there more.
Something I expect because of
other MMOs. You know, new zone gets added, it's an MMO zone, not a... Even when you party up, you can't see each other.
No, it's like that weird library in Ishgard. Just
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
or the Pixie Zone. There's lots of these in Final Fantasy 14.
Yeah. Just think of the ERP that could happen in there.
Right?
I really liked the 13th. I thought it was cool and dark and creepy and emo. And I felt like they just turned it into a giant reference to another Final Fantasy instead of writing their own lore for it.
If you hadn't been there having people tell you that, though, would it have really happened?
Yes.
Yeah? You
Yes.
feel like it would have snuck into your brain?
Having a council of baddies as opposed to unknowable horrors was a big disappointment for me. They're just sitting around having a Skype call together. That was the absolute opposite of the vibe I wanted from the 13th. But then we met the cast of characters, and they were really, really fun bosses to fight.
Yes, they were.
And they were cool characters, and they were a mismatch, because we also, like, one of the fights happens in a dungeon. He's this big turtle-like kaiju monster, and by the end of it, I was just like, as is so frequent my experience with Final Fantasy XIV, once I got my own expectations out of the way and I met it on its level, I had a pretty good time with it. I'm surprised to say I enjoy the little bit of backstory that we have for Barbariccia. Those Hectai quests are pretty cool, and I would highly recommend that if you haven't done it, have you done it? Have you done the Hectai quests?
Have you done them?
You should do the Hectai
They're good.
quests. Yeah. Big recommendation from us. What'd you think of the Barbariccia backstory? Which, because you and I share an annoyance with a little anime called Demon Slayer. We don't like the formula of, I would say, an episode, but sometimes they drag a monster on for more than one episode.
A whole season at this point, yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't get... Once Orange Dude showed up, I got annoyed with the show and I stopped watching.
That's pretty early.
Yes.
Much like this team went on to make Attack on Titan, Final Fantasy 16, they're very susceptible to whatever they're watching. And I think this was kind of Demon Slayer-esque. Not only in the fact that there were fiends or demons, but we were getting the backstory behind the character.
Interesting.
It is a good vessel to tell a story, and in this case, it's entirely optional. And something being exchanged right now in the community with Yoshi's P's kind of prompting is what should be a main quest and what should be a side quest, and can we divide information and say, hey, do you want more?
And that's where I think why it didn't, like, trigger my, oh, and of course, here comes the backstory, you're gonna make me care, because it was optional. You get a little more, a little more meat out of the story of the 13th. You get a little more meat out of the story of these characters. I would say it's on par with some of the better role quests from Shadowbringers in terms of, like, these tragic backstories of a doomed world.
Oh, hell yeah, I would say I enjoy this better than role quests.
It depends on the role quest.
The through line is stronger because Golbez is constantly there throughout all these, even if he's just showing up and being a...
Oh, yeah. Well, they're significantly shorter than the role quests as well.
Sign my guild charter. Oh, yeah, he's putting together. He needs 4 signatures to start his...
Golbez or Hectai?
Golbez.
Because Hectai's also collecting himself.
Yeah, but he's
signing his own guild charter.
He's the storyteller, but we also have Golbez kind of making a through line throughout this whole thing. So it's not just the story of whatever fiend we're dealing with at the moment. It's also the combined story of Golbez looking like a pretty decent guy, other than feeding people dragons he found.
Is the reason I like these Hectai quests because it gets straight to the point? Role quests, it's a lot of stages, takes a little while. These Hectai quests, while I guess you could kind of levy, they follow a formula against it. They get about that formula at a brisk pace for something that is not voice acted. Talk to Hectai. Hectai gets wistful. Here's your backstory. Hectai gets another piece of himself.
Hectai is also adorable and kind of devilish in his own way.
That's the way you've read him, and the way you've read him has become a meme of sorts around these parts.
Yes, but I do enjoy him. He has a certain evil that I enjoy.
I would say chaotic good.
He might be up to something someday. I doubt it because you'd have to do these side quests in order for him to do something about it in the future. So that's a little bit of like game design meta knowledge that I don't see.
I
Hectai.
should have hit him at the end like Hagrid's spider. Like, it should have been the Warrior of Light's little secret that we helped congeal a monster.
I feel like we did, though.
Yeah, but it's not our secret. Like,
Yeah, well, just me and that guy, though. That room's, it's got a door. People aren't walking in there all the time. Does President Dragon even know about this? But a role quest, you meet each one of those characters, get their backstory in an extended way, and then eventually figure out how it ties together to you and the greater story going on. Whereas Hectai, we met one Hectai. Basically, all the Hectai eyes were kind of the same person. They liked watching different things. And the story was very swift in that way.
This is the fiend, the first fiend we fight, so it's the furthest back from our experience of actually playing it. But this is really the only Hectai backstory I remember. It's the one that has stuck with me the most.
It was certainly the one with the most interesting human equivalent. The Fisher one was kind of hard to follow. It was the dude who loved punching.
Oh, he like learns a new piece of information. He just runs across the nation to punch a dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
that was amusing.
Forrest Gump with violence.
But it was this was very much, this is a more classic, like, haunting tale. Honestly, it kind of reminds me of, what was it, the Disneyland Paris haunted house? Like, it's the classic murderous bride trope.
It's not a bride, though.
No, but it has...
He said bride multiple times. She kills her dad.
Yeah. But if you put an axe in somebody's hand and they have long hair, I'm going to assume it's a murderous bride. That's just kind of the trope.
Every woman with long hair is a bride?
Well, with an axe in her hand, yes. Yeah, she kills her dad. She kills her dad, and it's a...
Well, he kills her friends. They're like a stately family, and he's trying to... It's like alluded to that he's trying to like climb the bureaucratic ranks, and he just kind of props her up as like a trophy daughter. So he wants to control her, keep her in the house, not let her mingle with the lower class, with the riffraff. And then there's like a scene where I don't know if they ever confirm if he actually kills her friends, but she takes it as truth. I think we see a couple scenes. Like, first she's like locked in the room, but then she sneaks out to meet with her friends, and then she comes back home and he's like, I killed your friends. Now I'm gonna like shutter your windows and shit. And then eventually she just grabs a botanist axe. And kills her dad. And I love that. I love that kind of shit. Are there spookier things that I've been exposed to? Absolutely. But within the confines of Final Fantasy XIV, I rather enjoyed this little vignette.
Well, we have a nice little selection of different demon types. We have the noble types of our fiends throughout here, kind of personified by our Rubicante.
Oh yeah.
And this is just one of those tropes, the more murderous. And this was also the one that was built up in Zero's dimension by the trembling demons afraid to be consumed by the approaching demon. They were definitely into Jujutsu Kaisen as well, because there's expansion, a domain expansion kind of going on with the whole Zero's dimension, and then Barbaricia's dimension shows up and it's full of hair that would make her more powerful. One of the most disgusting and confusing and disorienting battlefields I think we've ever had.
There's ups and downs of playing video games publicly. I'm not just talking about having to hear the completely asinine takes of other content creators.
Sure. Or their lifestyles.
Yes. You doing okay? You doing okay?
Everyone okay out there?
Everyone doing okay?
Hold fast.
Join us as we escape through the sweet release of a lot of deaths and 3 lockouts. Barely 3. I think we might be getting kind of okay at extremes.
Yeah, our first one back in there in 3 was damn cursed, but yes.
Yeah.
Lockout 3 was about 15 minutes long. I'm proud of that.
That's I feel like the beginning of a 3rd lockout, I can almost like set my watch. Like, that's when I'm gonna forget shit in phase 1. That's when shit I've done 40 times already is gonna fall out of my brain.
I mean, what is the average amount that people actually prog in?
I don't know, because everyone's different, and you and I, even in our background, back when we used to raid Hardcore and World of Warcraft, we looked up a guide ahead of time.
Yeah.
Did you ever raid lead?
No, I wrote guides for my raid, though.
Okay, so you and I have a similar background then, because I did raid lead, and I had a spiral notebook where I kept handwritten notes about fights. And I'd break it down by phase, and I'd break it down by role. So I'd be like notes for tanks, which always went to the top because that was me. I was the tank. And then I had notes for healers, and I had notes for DPS, and I gathered those from boss guys that already existed. I never progged completely blind, which is what you and I do mostly for the entertainment of our audience.
It's fun.
When we do an extreme.
Yeah, I love it.
Blind, mid-eye level, no echo. Like, just go. We haven't earnestly tried a Savage yet, but when we do, we probably won't do it blind.
It doesn't seem to be made for that.
If we're trying to do it in an evening,
yes.
It seems like a poor decision.
It's a very readable game because it is dance-based, and that's what makes it such a fun activity to dive in completely unknowing. There's also some oddities this time, too, because this was the most recent extreme we've ever done, while also having all the changes from Dawn Trail. So such as I had 2 stacks of light speed, which was quite helpful.
Oh, is that the reason you didn't want to stand still for literally anything?
Yeah, that's why during the Mario Kart segment, I could keep running for extended periods of time while still doing my biz.
Okay.
And it might have been why it was suggested I did so much DPS throughout the whole fight.
I don't know how anyone would know how much DPS you were doing.
No, but it was a feeling. Everyone just looked at Val and his big hair for the night and said, that guy's kicking ass. Look at him go.
So, the fight. More specifically, the extreme.
The extreme.
We just did the extreme, and it kicked our ass.
We can just kind of die in the normal and get carried by everybody. That's what you do.
Yeah, our good friend Azumi, my off main tank when I'm dead. Azumi has done all these fights. Azumi knows what they're doing, and more importantly, I trust Azumi to sandbag and not make things easy for me and intentionally do mechanics wrong until I figure them out. And real king shit, Azumi.
It's kind of become a mini game in our fellow raiders to see who can sandbag the most. They're all encouraging each other to sandbag more, heal less, stand in wrong places.
Yes.
Awarding each other.
Or sometimes legitimately forget what to do. This time I think everyone had done it before, though. I asked our party while you were in a bathroom break, who has anyone not done it before? And a couple people said, does it count if I haven't done it since it originally hit and I don't remember anything? And I was like, yeah, I'll say that counts.
That seems
fine.
fair.
Yeah, it's totally fine. But yeah, when I get warned from Azumi, that's where I really kind of eyes up. And I got warned by Azumi ahead of this. I got a GIF from some show I didn't recognize. It's just like, are you ready to die? And yeah, he was right. But yeah, we got a lot of warning. We were warned about Shinryu, which was our first extreme ever. Absolutely valid. That extreme is hard as butts. We were warned about Thordan. Thordan's hard as shit.
Yeah, Thordan.
Yeah, quite difficult. And I believe we were warned about Tsukiyomi.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
But we weren't really listening by then because we'd kind of found our groove with what we thought was hard and then Tsuyoki Moonholes hit.
Tsukiyomi wrecked us, yeah.
I got a ton of messages telling me how fun this was to heal, and they weren't wrong. Like, a lot of healers just really enjoy this throughput.
I saw a lot of chatter about it being hard to heal, not fun.
Oh, well, I think they're kind of one and the same.
It seemed like there was a good rhythm to it.
I don't think you're a happy healer if you think fun healing would be not healing people, right? Like, yeah, it'd have to be hard to heal because that's how you even get to heal. Otherwise, enjoy your off-brand DPS. Kroger DPS.
I didn't come here to analyze the psychiatric mentality of what is and is not fun.
To heal.
What the definition of fun for healing. Yeah. That's not why I'm here, Kyle.
Okay.
I'm here to be healed by you if you feel like it. But yeah, I would say it more or less lived up to its expectation. We cleared it faster than I thought we would. One of our, not our fastest clear, but kind of like right in the middle of the pack of clearing a extreme. And honestly, if you take out the time we spent simply reviewing footage, I think this is one of our fastest clears ever. Because the way we do it blind is we record it, which is how we have footage for a video like this. But then we review our recordings live on air to kind of see what killed us and try and notate things that were happening. And this fight was a bastard, but I picked up on it relatively quick. They got rid of the really obvious telegraphs. Like right out the gate, phase 1. There's either line attack or donut attack, and that is a thing that isn't normal. But they got rid of like the holographic, like orange graphical tell that in normal is the major giveaway about whether it's going to be the line attack that's as thick as her hitbox, or if it's going to be the donut attack where you need to go inside her hitbox and then go because you got hair in your mouth.
You're talking about the Savage Barbary.
Yeah, so like right out the gate, I'm like, you sneaky bastard. I do not like looking for boss poses.
No?
No. Because one of my favorite things about Final Fantasy XIV is that not every boss is just like huge. You know, sometimes you fight Ilberd and he's just the size of a
dude. Yeah, he's a hero.
Dude sized.
I like it. I like the boss pose thing. Ever since we saw what I remember to be my first one, which was Sunken City. There was the big Minotaur demon thing at the end, and he did a wind-up punch. I think there's a lot of bosses in video games that don't really look like they're doing what they're doing. And it's nice when they seem kind of interactive, charging an attack. There's 2 of those, too. But to your earlier point, that randomization of 2 different poses, whether it was Savage Barbary or Hair Raid, wasn't performance hard to do. It just took that brain power, and 3 hours deep, it was getting a little weird. But like Tsukiyomi, that was a performance difficulty. It was just hard to get to the moon hole. It was hard to do.
I mean, that's every boss fight worth its salt, though. Like, if any boss fight that's difficult, that's part of the challenge, is getting to that later stage. It's why I think things like Ruby Weapon, even though I don't think it's a complete pushover extreme, it's an easier one because it has a checkpoint. Like, it just lets you start at the final phase.
Yeah, that's nice.
Once you get to the final phase, which I think is actually kind of rad, and I'm glad that not every fight is like that. It's kind of a treat when you get to one that is like that. Also, God, Ruby, how did we not do a video about that Ruby Weapon final phase? Oh,
Did we not? Yeah, I guess we did.
not the extreme.
Yeah.
We did do a video about just
the Wordle.
Whirlit, yes, Whirlit.
We did one for Diamond Weapon, though. That was a particularly
That fight was hard as
bastard
nails.
fight.
Yeah. Barbariccia, I would say not as hard. Diamond Weapon way harder in my opinion. This fight, this is the Fast and Furious fight. It is a machine gun of mechanics with no downtime basically between them. The little bit of downtime you get, woo, the boss melts.
That's what's so fun about it. I love the squishy boss. It feels like killing that fast character in your favorite shooter, MOBA, getting the Zerglings off your base. Like, once you got a hold of them, you're doing the damage. It's just that you're constantly in motion, and that's cutting down your deeps. That's really cool.
It makes those tiny windows of an opening feel a lot longer because just the fight is so fast. And
it was satisfying in that way. Like Heidelin Extreme had those moments where she'd sort of take a break and we'd be like, come on, everybody, DPS. And it would move like 0.4%. Like all of our like, let's do it, lock in. Barbariccia, you'd move like 10% in that go. Felt great.
yeah. But like you said too, like the fact that the mechanics stick around the whole time, it means by the time you're like in the 3rd phase of this fight, even though I had done line attack or donut a bunch of times, like towards the end, I started forgetting to like even check for that. And then I'm like, son of a bitch, I got hit by the donut, and you know, we're streaming. So it's super embarrassing.
Well, there was a lot going on. She went in and out of the phase. Hey, good on them. Good advancement. Good learning since Four Lords and all that. We skipped the cinematic phase in this. I thought that was a great choice. Nobody needs to see her jump in the air and get her rhino hair on.
I wonder why they decide to put checkpoints on some fights and not others. Because on Four Lords Extreme, like Byakko, they include the cutscene, but there's no checkpoint. But Ruby Weapon, there's a cutscene and there is a checkpoint.
There is technically gameplay during Byakko. It's not engaging on your
That's
fifth
a good
pool of the
point. How would
night.
you have? I guess you could probably find a way to shorten that up, but you would still need to get the characters into the air, so it's probably easier to just
Give us one pop-up. I mean, think of how
Yeah.
short Shiryu, is that his name? What's the snake guy?
say Ryu.
Seiryu.
Grant me the strength to smite mine enemies!
His is really short. It's just a wave that comes in, transforms the battlefield. So you could shorten all of it into a...
That is a sick transition.
It is very
That is my
cool.
least favorite of the Four Lords fights, but that is a sick transition.
Speaking of getting into hair mode, hair suit. That's a really cool boss. Like, that's some Studio Trigger, Overwatchy, stretchy business that they're doing with them powering up their fists.
Really animated. It's great. Yeah, I really can't say enough nice things about Barbariccia from a thematic standpoint.
Like a production standpoint, it's just impressive.
It just seems like they were having a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah, real good time. It's almost a shame that we didn't see the cutscene in the extreme fight, because just that close-up of her coming in with the punch.
Yeah,
It's
with her
like-
face all kind of warped and evil looking as she's
Yeah.
flying through the air.
Yeah, it's some good shit. The 2-stack tank buster is evil, and you should probably just invuln. I should have just invulned a lot more, like every time the 2-stack, because it was always happening when the grid line attacks were hitting the field, or the spiral. I want to call it a pinwheel.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Attacks, and it was just like the amount of times Zumi and I were like, "Are you gonna move, or are you gonna move? Are you moving? Am I moving?" Like, it's just Poe Dameron, beginning of Force Awakens. Like, who talks first? You talk first, I talk first, and then we just die. We move simultaneously, and then we're not together for the stack, or we move too late and we go across the pinwheel as the snapshot of the pinwheel attack goes, and then we get hit by a tank buster and the pinwheel attack, and just invuln. However, I think we get that twice, and I was just holding on to it because I'm like, I want my invuln for the second instance of the stack happening, because then there's even more shit happening at the same time, and it haunted my dreams. In fact, where is it? If I reach for my notebook over here, I have a note from the other night that's while you were off on, I think, your like third or fourth bathroom break. You pee a lot.
I'm a hydrated man.
Now I see that.
Yeah.
I wrote biggest concerns. That's a note I have right here. It does haunt my dreams now. The pushback during flare. Also, I finally learned the term for that.
Oh, the Star
Boss
Fox.
ability. Star
attack.
Fox.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the Star Fox lock
as
on.
we both like to call it. I'm not sure you noticed. Did you notice, Mr. Healer Man, that I was taking a lot of damage every time flare went out?
No.
I think like the first 4 to 5 times that we encountered flare, I forgot that there was a pushback during it.
So you went into the bleed zone?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had my own stack mechanic that I was getting everybody else under during your flare.
Yeah, I think the flares were guaranteed to go on tanks unless anyone was dead. And the stacked mechanic was guaranteed to go on one of the 2 healers. And hopefully I have some good examples of this in my footage. But these are the 2 things that as a tank really caused me boss trauma
There was a lot of that.
during Barbariccia.
There was conversations, let's say, about whether a clock goes left or right, depending on what hour you're at. Because if you're at 6 going to 12, the clock's going to the left. But if you're at 1 to 6, it's going to the right. And we were telling everyone to go clockwise eventually or go to the right.
That actually wasn't the issue. It was, are you looking toward the inside of the clock, or are you radially looking on the outside of the... If you're on a clock face, are you looking in or out? Then left or right is different based on clockwise or counterclockwise.
At any rate, clocks are useful in these fights.
Not if you think about them the way you just described.
Well,
but
it doesn't.
sure.
It's not, that part's not important. The important part is that we figured out how to do teasing tangles, where you had to get the blue 2 triangles on top of 2 people divided over the hair barrier.
Sometimes it was divided over the hair barrier. Later in the fight, they just throw them out, and you're not in a hair zone.
Yeah, those are the free range hairs.
Free range blue zones. They're not free range hairs. Oh wait, no, you're right.
Because
No,
you were
there's 3 instances of the double up, because the blue mark.
Yeah, because you're thinking of what was referred to as PlayStation where tangle happens free
No.
of the entanglement.
Yes. But that's not PlayStation. No.
PlayStation establishes who's teamed up for hair tangling. And then
there's 3 double up markers, which probably should have looked that up before this. Is there a name for that? Because we've never seen that mechanic before. The blue marker that has the 2 prisms in it, denoting that you need to pair this up with somebody or face the consequences. I don't think we've ever seen that mechanic before. Hey, comment below, what the hell is the blue mark called? Is there a name for that? Do we have a name for that? I call it the double up marker because you need to double up or face consequences. Can we call it the accountability marker?
accountability's good. I want to do something with the pyramids in it, though. It's got little flying pyramids.
I think if you look underneath, it connects it, so it's not really a pyramid. It's more of a dense fire.
A diamond?
A diamond is usually cut there and then comes to a point with a flat top. That's more of a... I mean, yeah, I guess in a suit of cards, that is a diamond.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a diamond. Yeah, never mind. It's a diamond. But I think of it as a dense fire.
Okay, I was always looking at it from slightly above, so I didn't know it had a bottom.
I think it completes underneath. We'll analyze footage here, and there'll be a note on who's right.
Yeah, stack up markers seems to be what the internet has to say.
However, like to the boss's credit, like that, all that stuff, like the first hair zone mechanic, which is, I call it a hair zone, when you get paired off and you get tethered to the hairball and it makes you move slow. To the game's credit, it's like when we reviewed the footage, we started putting together pretty quickly because only 2 people got those blue markers and 4 people got AoE markers, which left 2 people with nothing. And so you go, well, I don't know what that blue thing is, but there's 2 people with blue thing, there's 2 people without blue thing, and then there's 4 people with, I'm going to kill you if I don't get away from you things. It was, by the power of deduction, you got there pretty quickly, which is good boss design.
As long as everyone's alive, which is now the lesson I carry forward for time's sake, which is if anybody is dead, ignore the particulars of the information. The marks might still be right. They just won't be on the right roll or the right person or the right amount of people.
I struggle to think of a fight where it caused more bullshit when someone was dead than this. Like that's the trauma of this fight.
Yeah, you really can't leave someone just on the floor.
It causes so many. It's funny because like a lot of times we would die during the hair. Someone would be dead during the hair zones and res in the middle of it, which means they're not tethered to hair, which means they can move freely. That happened to me, I think, twice in a couple of our pulls, and I found it like more difficult because you know how much everyone else is struggling because they're moving a lot slower. And like everyone with an AoE is trying not to hit friends. And then there's just some random asshole who's rezzed in the middle of the fight, moving around at light speed. And I feel like I was just making everyone nervous, even though it was a lot easier for me to go and find, like, it should be easier for me to go and find whoever doesn't have a buddy for their blue marker. But there's just this sensation of just like, oh God, like I'm making everyone nervous that's trying to place their AoE right now. Cause I could just see everyone wiggle a little bit to try. And I'm like, no, you stay where you are. I'll get out of the way. Like, no, please, you first. And it never felt better. It was like, I almost wish I was just alive for this so I could be tethered and move slower so that everyone was in their zone to begin with.
I require the bullshit for perspective in this moment.
Exactly. So
I mean, it was just a disorienting battlefield outside of our markers on the field.
Markers really
The
helped.
number of times after we Mario Karted around, I had to reorient myself and be like, hey, which hole's mine? Where am I going in the pinwheel? Uh-huh. It was kind of nuts.
Yeah. We updated during our second to third reset, like someone else threw their markers down instead of the markers we had previous. And I didn't like the cardinal directions also being in on the arena. I think I prefer them all the way out at the outskirts because then it's just like too much visual fuckery going on where I'm actually fighting. And I prefer the compass directions all the way out.
I like to keep it simpler, yeah.
Yeah, give me inner cardinals inside and compass directions all the way at the edge of the arena. Or just mark north. Honestly, I think I preferred that. But I'm a tank, so I wonder.
So you always...
I wonder if that's...
You always get one.
Well, yeah, because then there's only one mark at the edge, and you just know that's always north.
Yeah.
So even if I wanted to get away from north, it was helpful. But am I biased? Hi, I'm a tank player, everybody. Keep me honest. Am I biased? Am I biased, Kyle?
Maybe a little.
Okay. Well, what do you think? Do you like all cardinal directions marked or just...
I like the 4. I like the inner cardinals. I like the diagonals.
Well, I like the inner cardinals,
Yeah. I have a different thought, though. Mine comes from a concern for a newcomer. I like the game. I want more people to play Final Fantasy XIV. I want them to like the rating. And when I first saw my very first Final Fantasy XIV rating stream and there was all 12 darn things on the battlefield, I didn't like what I was looking at.
Agreed. I think it's kind of hideous.
So I want to keep that number of things as few as possible in just the hopes that someone happens along and goes, wow, that's a cool boss. Not, oh my God, what are those 12 glowing things? And why does the 4 look like a G?
I agree with you, but not enough. Let's put markers down because...
Oh yeah, but only 4 of them.
Can we make it 5? Can we mark North?
Because you want to know. He's biased.
What, isn't it like? That's it, and then you west, east, south, and you get like double platform fights like Diamond Weapon and all kinds of other crazy shit like Shinryu, where you're constantly changing platforms. It's not always a perfect system.
No, and your marks can't move with you due to cheaters.
Oh, you damn cheaters!
Yeah, cheaters.
Why are you cheating?
Why'd you do that?
Why would you do that?
Why would you do that? On stream, in a video, where people know. Would suck to be a black mage during that, or possibly a samurai with full stickers. I can think of a number of jobs that Mario Kart would be a little lackluster.
And you wanted to run around more.
Well, I have light speed, so
other people have directionals, Kyle.
Yeah, well.
And all sorts of concerns. Think about the melee, because this game doesn't.
8 astrologians win. You could maybe do it, actually.
This man beats Final Fantasy
there's
1
a lot of myths.
one time, and now he's thinking about meme comps.
It's good. It's wild. It's fun.
It's a lot. It's a lot, and it's fast, and it's furious, and it is relentless. It just keeps coming. But that's also what makes it really fun, and why Where's this fall for you for enjoy? We don't have a wall of extremes. Maybe we should start one. But just like for how much you liked it, just pure enjoyment. Where does Barbariccia Extreme fall for you?
Damn high because of that squishy factor on the boss. The exchange of bullshit on somebody who takes damage when things slow down. It was just a good feeling.
I think it might be my favorite extreme we've done. We didn't beat it the fastest. It didn't take the most time. This might be my favorite extreme so far. We have others to do. It was the perfect amount of difficulty and that the speed factor. Like it just makes it so fun. Like if you like MMO bosses, like this is a machine gun fight. It's just mechanic after mechanic after mechanic after mechanic, and then like the phase transition happens like that, and you get into a whole new mechanics, and then they start blending all of them as you push deeper into the fight, which is really common in Final Fantasy XIV. But a lot of boss fights up to this point, they have noteworthy amounts of downtime in between mechanics, or often they have like a really lengthy ad phase or like a middle break where you're not fighting the boss. I think of shit like Thordan, Tsukiyomi. All of these have these really noteworthy kind of intermission segments. They're still hard. They're long enough that you stop thinking about the boss that you're fighting. And you're just thinking about like, how do I not get crushed by these two knights in the when it comes to Thordan,
or even the form change is so extreme after something like that, like Hades, where you're not even dealing with the same mechanics anymore.
Yeah,
and you feel like you're not learning something. I think of Hydaelyn as just so hectic, like those waves of golden light. I was constantly scared. While there was so much going on in Barbariccia, it was also extremely clear what was happening at all times and why you died.
And because of the fast nature of everything, you never really have a moment to not be locked in. Like you're locked in the whole time. And it's almost because it is so relentless, it makes it a little easier, I think, mentally. This now that we're getting into like, how does this affect you on a mental level? And I'm sure it's different for everybody. How do you feel? But it's, I found it easier because I think it just kind of it kept me in game. Like I had my game face on the whole time.
Engaged, yeah. Nothing sort of just lost track and you got sniped by something.
Yeah. So I think this is one of the best. It's up there with, I'd say, Seed of Sacrifice Extreme is one of the highest up there for me. It's almost like the more I play this game, the more I enjoy the extremes because I understand how to analyze the fights a little better.
Game knowledge skill.
Seed of Sacrifice took a long time.
Yeah,
but
did.
It probably would have been a two-nighter if I had not reviewed the normal. Because it reminded me of, the fire and the blizzard mechanics, which are classic and legion in this game. But we go enough time in between because we spend so much time making like story videos that shit falls out of my head. And I'm like, wait, which one is the one you move for and which one is the one you stand still for? And then you go do Warrior of Light Extreme and it adds rock as an element. And you're like, what the fuck does rock mean? I don't know. We're not going to do a full wall here, but like, what's your top 3 extremes right now? So I'd probably go Barbariccia, Seed of Sacrifice, maybe Ruby Weapon.
I have to remove the good feels factor of the victory from it.
It's also just a fun extreme and has a really cool final phase.
Yeah, but I would rate like just defeating Heidelin, world's last clear Heidelin, very high, just on a personal level of satisfaction.
It's very hard for me to remove how furious I was with you because I basically didn't sleep the night before, and your dumbass was like, "What if we go from Zodiark straight to Heidelin?" And it ended up being one of the more difficult extremes we've done to this point. And I was actually, I don't think I've told you, I was legitimately mad at you.
That's okay.
I just wanted to go to bed.
I'm okay with that.
I just wanted to be done.
I'm okay with that.
But I'm also not going to leave my buddy high and dry.
It was the best possible storyline for the final stream before Dawn Trail.
It's probably the most angry at you I've been.
We'll always have that together.
I wanted to kill you.